Welcome to the Parts and Labor Motorcycle Podcast. It's brought to you by Built-Well Inc. We're going to dive deep into anything motorcycle related. We're going to introduce you to some of the most interesting friends we know. And we might even try to solve a problem or two. You got a question? That'd be cool. Send us a voice recording or an email. pod@builtwellinc.com. pod@builtwellinc.com.
All right, here we go. Hi there, I'm Bill Bryant, one of the co-founders at Built-Well, and this is our first episode of the Parts and Labor Podcast. I'm here with Otto, Davin, Josh. We're going to do a couple little intros, let you guys know who we are and what we're trying to do here. I think like a lot of people in the world right now, we're big listeners, big consumers of podcasts, and so we just kind of wanted to dip our toe in that media and see what it's like and introduce you guys to some of our more interesting friends and talk about motorcycles and the culture that surrounds them. And that's kind of our plan. Today we're just doing those intros, talking about our plans, what we want to do, how we want to do it. I'm sure we're going to screw up. A few of us have been guests on podcasts before, but we've never done our own. And this is definitely day one. So I don't expect it to go super smooth. We're going to try not to curse. I don't know how well that's going to work, but we'll have to see. So Otto's going to be the main guy, the main host most of the time, with Josh or Davin jumping in. I'll try to stay out of the way so that I don't ugly it up too much, but I'll get involved once in a while if we talk about old bikes or business or something that is more that I'm a little more relevant. Why are you here?
Mike Otto Deutsch, Built-Well Inc. I do a little bit of everything, and I do a lot of nothing. Like Bill said, we're motorcycle guys. We love them. Working at Built-Well and being in the community for a long time, or a few years, I'd say. We've met a lot of cool guys, people doing fun stuff at a high level, building cool stuff. This is our chance to kind of highlight some of those talented people we met and talk about some of the trends and some of the stuff that still keeps us stoked on this sport thing. I don't know, motorcycling is probably not a sport, but
it's a lifestyle, brother.
Yeah, Davin lives the lifestyle. You can tell by all the Gore-Tex he wears.
Level 3.
I just like comfortable things, and I do like the adventures that a motorcycle has brought me. It'll be fun to again talk to some of the people we've met, men and women that are involved in all the different facets of motorcycling. Motorcycling, it's not like football, it's not a team sport. It's something you can do by yourself. You can ride any kind of motorcycle and do a lot of different things with them, and it's going to be cool, I think, to have some of those people on the show and talk about some of that stuff. For me, I grew up riding skateboard and BMX and all that stuff, and motorcycling's been a part of my life now for a quarter of it, and it's kept me interested the whole time, which I usually lose interest on stuff, 5-10 years in, and this is something I feel like I can keep doing darn near till I'm in my grave or a wheelchair, and it's just really cool. It's something I enjoy doing with my wife and doing with my friends or doing by myself, there's not a lot of activities I can say scratch all those itches, so I look forward to diving into some motorcycles and doing it with some of my friends, Davin, Josh, and Bill.
Sweet.
Davin?
Yo, I'm Davin. I'm in charge of the sales and purchasing here at Built-Well. And I love motorcycles. I ride more than most people I know. Got a garage full of weird bikes. Like Otto said, most things in life I've gotten sick of after a couple, 2-3 years, but I've been riding since I was 3 years old. I'm currently 44. And, man, I still just love getting out there, riding the bikes, doing the thing. Like he said, too, we've got a lot of friends in the industry that do cool stuff. We've got a lot of friends in the industry that do lame stuff. We'll probably talk about all of them because, we don't discriminate. So, looking forward to this pod. I think we've got, between the 4 of us, 5 of us, whoever we end up getting on here, we've got, some ideas of motorcycling that differ from a lot of the podcasts I see out there. We're not just like you say, Bill, we're a non-binary or non-binary.
That's not what I say.
Busted.
Canceled already. Episode 1.
Sorry, not non-binary.
Whatever
it's called.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I gotta
Anyway.
go.
Flynn, can you fix that? Here we go. We were 4 minutes and 43 seconds in before we got normal.
Before Bill
Ruined
used the
it.
Lord's name in vain.
I did.
on.
I'm sorry, Jesus.
Okay, you can cut that out, yeah? Is that what we're going to do? Okay. So like Bill says, we're a non-denominational motorcycle company. So we ride all things. We ride adventure bikes. We ride choppers. We ride dirt bikes. We ride electric bikes. We ride...
Don't talk about the electric bikes.
Come on.
I like some of those electric bikes.
Yeah.
I've already talked to David about this. I want one of those X things from,
Yeah, the new Zero XBs and XEs and...
yeah. Sorry,
XCs.
tangent. Go ahead, David.
Yeah. Anyways, no, we ride them all and we like them all and we've got problems, so we need to talk about it. And that's what we're going to do with this podcast.
All right. Thanks for that, David. What do they say in AA? Thanks for sharing. Keep coming back.
Don't call me Sharon.
Okay.
Yeah, don't blow his anonymity either.
Yeah,
That's
all
what
right.
they say.
That's less anonymous. So,
Okay.
hey, everybody. I'm Josh. I'm the operations manager at Biltwell. I've been riding motorcycles like Otto for a quarter of my life. I also enjoy motorcycling so much that I like to share that passion with others. So I'm also a motorcycle safety professional, I guess, if you want to use that term, where I teach motorcycle safety on the weekends, just as for fun. Big thing that I want to get out of this podcast is kind of the same thing. I love motorcycles. I love sharing the passion of motorcycles. So being able to hang out with my friends and talk about those types of things is fantastic. So being able to get some of our friends from out of state to be able to kind of just rekindle those relationships and talk about all things motorcycling just sounds super awesome and a great opportunity. So looking very forward to that as this podcast progresses.
Thanks, Josh. I think one of the things we can talk about is the format. So since this is kind of the intro podcast, we're not going to be Joe Rogan, 3 hours, full deep dive interview only. We may do some of that, but we're going to shoot to try to keep these under 1 hour. But if it's somebody super interesting and they have a really good story, we're not going to turn that story off and force it to fit into 57 minutes or whatever. But we may break those up into multiple episodes if they start going long. We're also going to do what we're calling first time, long time. So like first time caller, long time listener, like people used to say on old fashioned call in radio shows, or maybe they still do today. I don't know. Where we'll answer questions or at least beat you up with stupid comments about whatever your questions are. So you can email those to us. If you email us a voice recording, we can put your voice into the episode so that we get to hear you asking your stupid question. And then we'll try to help you fix your bike or start an event or go on a ride or buy a motorcycle or whatever it is that you might want a little bit of help on.
I got an idea for that.
What's that?
If you guys would like, this is all voluntary. I'd like to have a segment which is roast my bike, and you send me your bike, and I will roast it royally. So this is voluntary, so no one could get their feelings hurt. But you email us a picture of your bike, and you might tell us a little bit about it, and I will destroy it on mic and on camera for you and your friends' enjoyment. So if that's what just came to my head, but if you guys don't want to do it, that's fine. That was my idea.
I think that's the best idea you may have ever had.
Roast my bike.
I've seen you bum some people out doing that, so I'm excited.
Oh,
about
man,
this.
feelings are going to get
If
hurt.
nobody sends me their
I'll
bike,
send you one
yeah,
of
yeah,
mine.
yeah. If
I'll
nobody
send-
sends me their bike,
Here.
I will roast it for them. You know,
Hold on.
we will.
I'm going to find you a photo of my bike, and then you
Yeah.
can roast my motorcycle right now. We'll see.
But yeah, I think
I get that pretty consistently, regardless if I don't even have to send the email. So it's
Right.
What do you mean? You just get roasted?
no, Mike.
Josh's
Otto's
comp bike.
just gonna roast all my bikes as he sees them, so I don't have to.
There you
send
go.
an email.
75 cone shovel, rigid chopper, roasted.
oh, cool. That's the first time I've seen flames on a tank.
It's super
Wow,
original.
wow. Those pipes are a little crooked.
What? That is,
Uh,
stuff is straight.
Cool cone shovel. You couldn't afford a slab, huh?
Got him.
I remember my first chopper. No, I think that'll be a fun little segment. We'll get you guys bikes up there, and it'll be a cool way to spotlight some of our readers or viewers' bikes.
Listener.
YouTube,
they-
they're a viewer, I
Okay.
think.
I
View
guess.
and listen.
Yeah,
But,
view, listen.
But then also we can just we can make fun of them too. That's I think been the part of the success of Biltwell is that nobody over here really takes themselves too seriously. If you're not having a good time, you're not joking a little bit, I think it gets old real quick. So we're not hardcore Ducati guys or knee draggers or bagger riders only. You know, everybody here rides a little bit of everything, and we make fun of sometimes our friends and co-workers a lot. Like Josh loves him a good cop bike and parks it right out front every day for the world to see, and that's okay. That's okay.
Hey, at least he's riding it.
Just put it proud. Like, am I supposed to hide it behind the back?
I would hide that bike out back.
Yeah.
How many miles you got on that unit now, Josh?
I don't even want to admit. Not that many. Not as many. It's hard to talk miles in front of David.
I know.
It's like,
I know.
oh, I've got 12,000. Only in how long have you had the bike? It's more than 6 months.
Well, I think David kind of accumulates. He like collects miles, like old people collect tchotchkes, and so he may not even enjoy all those tchotchkes. He just wants to have all of them.
Right. It's established dominance.
Exactly.
Oh, you only got.
Oh, you did that?
You only
Well,
got
I did-
1,000 miles this month.
Yeah.
Well, I've got 15,000 this
Exactly.
month.
How many
What
Beanie
have-
Babies
What have
you
you been
have?
doing?
Yeah. How many Beanie Babies you got? I got a whole garage full of them.
Yeah.
So
The nice thing about miles is they fit in this little app that I have, so I don't have to store them anywhere.
Yeah.
So I get to look at things and ride around and experience the different smells of the airs in the different countries and states that I ride through, and it's they don't take up any room.
Yeah, I just named my kid Miles, so that way I at least have miles available.
Yeah.
Some miles.
Yeah.
Always got
that
some
was
miles.
good. Shout out to Miles. That
Right,
was.
yeah.
I always thought you named him after Miles Davis, and you just spelled it wrong.
It's a little bit of both.
Okay. All right.
Good work either way.
What else? What other kind of stuff are we going to try to cover on here? We're going to do some bike reviews, which will be weird on a audio deal.
Yeah, but I don't think that's gonna be too bad.
No.
You know, David's getting those lined up, and hopefully we got ride some bikes and tell everybody kind of how we feel about it, because we've got varying degrees of preference. You know, because
Sure.
everybody likes bikes, but you know, I know David has a infatuation for backlit, you know, switches.
Yeah.
So you know, things like that the average person's not going to necessarily know or maybe even care about, but you know, being able to explain that and give a couple different varying opinions, I think could be pretty beneficial for those that are in the market.
Totally. I would. The one cool thing about this is like, man, we're not getting paid by anybody.
Exactly.
We don't know anybody anything. So if we want to review a Honda and say this thing sucks, which I doubt because I love Hondas, but we can do it. And we don't have, nobody's cutting checks. We're not beholden to anybody, and we can kind of do and say what we want. And so you should be able to get a pretty honest review. We're obviously not professional journalists, but we do, I mean, combined, we probably have 100 years of motorcycling between us, and I think we do all come at it from a little bit different perspective, and so it'll be pretty easy to build a decent review. You know, Josh's input might be totally different than Otto's or mine or Davin's, you know, and so I think we can put those things together, put those comments together, and then not argue, but sort of just discuss what makes sense and what doesn't, what we liked, what we hated, that kind of stuff. And I look forward to doing that. You know, we did a little bit of that with Chop Colt back in the day when we started that, and which we don't own anymore. I haven't for a long time, just FYI. But doing those bike reviews was fun,
Yeah.
and that was some of the best results we ever had as far as like number of views and readers and all that stuff were the bike reviews. So that was kind of cool. So I look forward to doing some of that.
Yeah, talking about bikes, talking about gear, talking about places we like to ride. Everybody has their own experience with all that stuff, and we can just kind of give our 2 cents, and maybe that'll inspire somebody to want to go to Baja that's never been, or you know, ride through the Smokies or upper, you know, New York, some of that stuff, and it'll be cool to share some of those experiences. To me, you know, I wouldn't have got those experiences without working at Biltwell, and those are some of my favorite places at Baja, especially. There's nothing like the smell of burning trash in Fabuloso in the morning, and I would love to get some people on that train.
Man, to be honest with you, the excitement of, we've been fortunate enough to be able to share a lot of miles together and going on a bunch of different trips because of what we do. So being able to relive some of those adventures is going to be fantastic, because my memory is garbage. So being able to see the perspectives from others, because between Baja or you know, Lolo Pass that we got to go on our Alaska trip, like we've been able to do so many amazing things and go so many amazing places through New York. You know, all of that was fantastic. So being able to kind of rehash those stories is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I could totally see this having a little bit of a travel angle and talk about, like, I know when I started getting into this, I had no idea what I was doing or where I was going or where I wanted to go. One of the first places I rode that was a multi-day trip was down to Baja on an old CB 550. And I put an Alice pack on the back. Like I didn't know how to pack a motorcycle. I brought a whole damn toolbox and still didn't have what I needed. And if there was something like this that as a noob I could have listened to and gained some of that information, that would have been cool. And also, I never thought riding in New York City would be on my list of things where I wanted to ride a motorcycle. It's top 3. I love it. I love riding in Manhattan. It's chaos. It's like combat. It's so good. And you get done and you're just like, holy crap, I lived through that, and it's awesome.
But even when it's like early in the morning was the best because
Yeah.
it was just nobody was there.
Yeah.
And then I remember we were riding, and then we went through that Jewish neighborhood, and everybody was coming out and
It's all
wearing the
Hasidic-
crazy hats
Yeah.
and fancy outfits. Yeah, it was
And
just
I have a
wild.
fetish for bridges and tunnels,
oh yeah,
and I've never been anywhere that has more bridges and tunnels than New York City.
I remember.
And just ripping through those. Like, I'm just always scared my piece of crap old bike is going to shut off on this bridge or in this tunnel, and I'm going to die. And so that anxiety that it brings is awesome.
Well, during
I
that
love
trip, I think everybody else had their bike shut down or die at some point.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think that was where I think I met David because he was driving my van with a 15 or 20 foot trailer trying to back up through a tunnel that he wasn't supposed to
Yeah,
go
they
through.
got yelled at for driving through the tunnel because they're like, apparently that's a no-no, and they thought it was there to blow it up. So
Well, and they don't put signs up for that stuff. You're just supposed to know.
yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
not from here.
They lost their touch after 9/11, I
Yeah,
guess.
no, it's spicy.
But yeah, so things like the fact that New York City is awesome to ride in, maybe some people don't realize that. They don't
Of
recognize.
course.
I think they need a bunch of twisties to be fun. Obviously, twisties are great, but there's other stuff as well. And we have been super lucky that we've been able to ride all over the country and all over the world, really.
Yeah.
So
I think, being able to talk about it too is a lot more, you can get a lot deeper than posting a photo and a little blurb on Instagram. I'm a bad storyteller with words as far as like typing. I just post a photo and be like, yeah, that ride was cool. But there's so much more to it. Like, Otter and I made it to the top of Alaska and it was gnarly and it took us all day to do 60 miles and a photo doesn't get the point across. So it's like, that's an hour story by itself.
I was telling that story this morning.
It's crazy.
So,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
it's,
So there's so much, every ride
Forget
has a
that.
story.
It's easy to forget it.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the beauty of podcasts, right? Like that's part of why this media makes so much sense right now because we have such a short attention span as American or I guess worldwide consumers.
Yep.
That we're just used to seeing 15-second reels. You just scroll right past something that used to be awesome 25 years ago. You just scroll right by and don't even think twice about it today. And things have value, and we need to get deep into them to recognize that value. And just giving that thing a 5-second reel doesn't give value to something like that Alaska trip. Like you need to hear and see and feel all about that trip on a deep perspective, not just a 5-second effervescent post.
Exactly, because even like David was saying, the Instagram aspect of it is you take a photo, it's got a small paragraph, and then it turns into fodder that just disappears. Like I remember seeing a post that David did where he was just epic motorcycle, glacier lake in the background. It just looks so majestic, and it's like, well, that was a fraction of a second in time when you take into perspective all of the effort to get to that one location gets kind of lost in it. So by being able to talk about it, kind of dives into a little bit more of the how, because the cool thing is that a lot of the trips that we were on crappy old motorcycles. So we're going slow. We're not going as far. So we get to slow down and kind of smell the roses and see a little bit more instead of just blasting 1,000 miles in a day where it's just,
Well, and sometimes you're
mind-numbing.
forced to stop and smell the roses and the
spe-
90 weight and spend some time on the side of the road.
very familiar,
Yeah. And just
very familiar.
everything that goes into it too, the planning. I mean, that Alaska trip, there was 4 years of planning for it.
Well, it was
Because
supposed to be
of-
2 years of planning, but
because
COVID
of
got in the way, so we had
COVID.
a couple extra years. And things like, in this next episode of Parts and Labor, the magazine that we do, we're going to have a little look back on the Nora 1000 race, which is coming up on 10 years pretty soon. That was 2018. And man, the more we all collectively know about racing motorcycles in the desert, the more we know that wasn't our ability as riders. We won that race by logistics. This was like World War II. We just outdid everything with production, just like America did in World War II. And so we pulled that off, and not everybody, it's hard to get that across in a 4-page magazine story, but someday we'll sit down and talk about that with everybody that was there, get Rouser involved in the whole thing. And that's an interesting story to dig into, and I don't really know anybody else that could tell that story but us.
Well, and on top of that, it's like it kind of started that Sportster, I don't want to say revolution, but taking modern motocross type parts, incorporating them into a Sportster to make a unrealistic dirt motorcycle, an unrealistic motorcycle that can be on the dirt. It's just wild, so
yeah. And I don't know that it's a revolution. It's a tiny one, but we were, and people have been making little dirtsters for a long time before we were around. We were the first ones to race one in Nora, and so far we're the only ones that have finished Nora, as far as I know, unless you know somebody that did. I know a guy tried on a Modern Triumph this year and kind of got smoked. I think he's a guy that's ridden at the 100 before. I'd be interested to get his story.
He was at the Melee, the 1000.
Oh, yeah, he was at the 1000, which
is a different animal.
If you don't know the difference between the two, it's a completely different animal and much harder race. The Baja 1000.
He was equally stupid. That was a terrible idea.
I don't know if he was unsupported, if his logistics sucked, or what happened, but I don't think he made it very far.
I doubt it. He had a large backpack.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
Good on him. Good on him.
I think he planned on being out there a minute. But
he probably was.
I agree with Bill. We're not the first one to since there was a Sportster, someone put dirt tires on it, I guarantee you, and ripped it around as best they could. But we made it with logistics, and it was a tough deal. And I haven't seen too many. I haven't seen any Sportsters, and not even too many of the old bikes make the Nora happen, because you just got to be planned to every single minute or every single day, and then still be ready for something to explode in your face. And that race is 5 days. It's a rally, not a race, actually. So it's different than 1000. But there's still a timeline. You have to make your checkpoints by a certain amount of time, where you just time out and they just give you the max amount of time for each day, and you just kind of go to the end of the line on the next day. And we made it happen every single day, and that was Bill's plan. That wasn't anybody else's. I think I got lucky. We're looking for mile markers on Google Earth, planning the pits. I did half of them, and I think Bill did the other half. And I don't know how or why, but we made every single pit, which to me, riding the motorcycle is the easiest part of the whole deal and the funnest part. Doing all the planning and doing the chase. The chase guys are the real racers. You know what I mean? They're cutting across fields and farmland and streets that look like the downtown Baghdad. And to get there in time to meet their racer, whether it's Moeller or Westy or Bill or me, and gas them up. And, man, that was a lot of moving parts and with a lot of variables. There's no bigger variable than Baja. My buddy Julio always says, Baja gonna Baja,
Yeah.
and that's why I love it, but that's
Sure
why
enough.
I'm always nervous. I'm going down there in a couple of weeks to go down to San Felipe and see the orphanage, and I told my wife today, I'm nervous. She's like, why are you nervous? I'm like, because Baja gonna Baja. you can make all the best plans, and you just don't know.
You never know.
You never know.
You never know when you're going to pay the tax. You never know. I mean,
You always pay.
My most embarrassing moment in Baja, and I think I've had quite a few actually, because it'll bring them out in you, was me and Magoo and Otto at a checkpoint south of San Felipe, just coming out of Gonzaga Bay, and the military checkpoint, and they've flipped the seat in my Tundra, and there was an AR-15 mag under the seat, and I'm like, the dude pulled it out.
It was a banana clip after.
It was a 30-round mag.
Out of an SKS. I don't even know where Bill got this thing. And it said his name on it.
I know. There's no denying it. It's one that I had in Iraq, so it's painted. It says Bryant on it. I'm an idiot.
I remember it being a banana clip, like Mr. T held. You know what I mean?
Well, it was a regular 30-round mag for an AR. And, I don't generally keep that in my truck, and I don't generally have unloaded ones.
Because they're illegal.
And he pulled it out, and I went, oh, God, it's upside down. He flipped it over, and I saw the light green. That meant it wasn't it didn't have ammo in it. And I was like, okay, we might get out of this. Like, that's technically, it's not a gun and it's not ammunition. And we argued with that guy and pleaded with him. And I said, dude, you can have it. You can keep it. You can't kill anybody with that unless you bash them in the face with it. It's not even a part of a gun, really, in my nomenclature. I wouldn't call it that. It's just a magazine. It's legal where I come from. He didn't know what the law is in California. And finally, I think he just got disgusted. And I thought, God, here goes my truck. I'm probably going to get raped in prison for the next 10 years. Magoo was making up ideas in his mind. He was going to be Tortilla Harry. He was going to make tortillas in prison, and that was how he was going to survive. And I'm like, what, you make tortillas better than the ladies in town? I mean,
where's he going to learn how to make tortillas?
That was, and Deutsch was just going to outrun. Yeah. He was just going to zigzag and run over the hill and dive into the Sea of Cortez and outswim the Mexican army, which, as plans go, that might have been the most realistic one. I just thought, oh my God, it's over. And finally, that dude, I knew he spoke English. He had a Apple Watch, the lieutenant, when he came down, and he finally, I think, just got sick of us and said, go ahead. And I was like, oh.
He said, you're dumb. That's what he said right before we left. Said, you guys are dumb.
You're dumb. And I'm like, I've been told that before. You're not the first. And that was a really quiet ride back to San Felipe. My friends were mad, and I felt really stupid. And so I've been traveling down there forever, and I paid the tax that day, and my friends almost paid the tax that day.
It just shows how good Otto is at coming up with plans on the fly.
Run.
Because the ability to run.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have to be the fastest. He just needs to be faster than Magoo and yourself.
Which he could probably be pretty easily.
At least one of the two.
Yeah. Every 10 steps, Magoo's going to have to stop and scratch his plantar fasciitis, and I'm going to outrun
and it was also before he got the new knees.
That's the truth. I don't care how fancy a Nike he has on. He's gonna have to stop and.
You don't think the wicking fabrics are going to give him a competitive edge?
My Pontius Pilate is firing.
That brings up another thing. Magoo was here this morning. We only have room for 4, and we can't trust him half the time, so he's not here today. But I want to make sure that Magoo gets invited to some of these podcasts because he's the best storyteller out of all of us. Absolutely. He never lets the truth get in the way of a good story, and he is so confident that even if his memory is a little crusty on something, he'll just make up the details, and he's so confident you'll always believe him, and he's fantastic. So,
well, for those that don't know, you want to give a little brief overview of who Magoo is?
How much time we got? Yeah. Harold McGruther, better known as Magoo to most people that know him, is another co-founder at Biltwell. Him and I have been together, not in that way, for over 30 years.
But maybe in that way.
Maybe occasionally in that way, but that's okay. And he does product development. He's in charge of product development at Biltwell. So he is the smartest guy I've ever known. Also the most self-destructive sometimes. Hilarious, tells good jokes, is a great, if I can say this word, extemporaneous speaker. Like you can't make him read a script or he'll just dissolve, but he can just make up stuff on the fly. Anybody from the bicycle business or the BMX world from years past will know who he is. He sort of got his, cut his way into the industry a long time ago. I mean, early BMX stuff in the early 80s, late 70s. And he did freestyle tour announcing, and that's where he learned to put his gift of gab to use for himself and for the companies that he worked for. And so he would be the guy announcing at freestyle demos. So, and then he would pile all these knucklehead pot smoking weirdos in the 80s into a van or an old pickup and tow a ramp to the next BMX shop in Poughkeepsie or wherever. What about motorcycles? Let's talk real quick about what our motorcycle backgrounds are, or our motorcycle interests, or what we're into today. So Josh, you said you're a safety guy. What's in your quiver today, and what got you there?
Oh man. So I've been doing a great thing because now I work at Biltwell, I have multiple places to hide bikes. So I have them located in different locations so my wife doesn't know exactly what I have. So this is kind of self-incriminating. But currently I've got a Panhead 63. That's the one I took to Alaska. I got that off of Bill, which at a smoking deal, and have been loving
from
ever
Moeller.
since. Yeah. From Moeller, yeah. So I've got the GI chop, so a slab shovel that is an S&S motor that I just acquired from Davin, who acquired it from Otto, who acquired it from Bill. So it's just
That I traded a Sportster for
exactly
20 years ago,
So
10 years ago.
currently
Slap
working on
fifths.
a 98 Evo chopper. And then for safety and just general daily riding, I've got a BMW 1250 RT. So that's my get on, turn the button, and go a million miles an hour.
That's your Honda Accord of
It's
motorcycles. Yeah.
pretty much. So it's just fast, reliable, plenty of room for snacks.
So no more dirt bikes in your quiver?
Nope, I got rid of the dirt bike in exchange for another chopper from Davin because dirt bikes are scary and I fall over a lot. And all my friends are way faster than me, and I don't have the time or effort to be able to build more speed. Know yourself, seek self-improvement kind of deal.
I noticed when we did that Baja run a couple of years ago on dirt bikes for a helmet that we're never going to make, that you struggled.
Man, it's the skill set of like I know too much about street riding and what
Yep.
you need to do. So
Yep.
the entire time I'm like, oh, I got to relax my upper body. I got to not be absolutely terrified of everything that I got going on. So I just go into this spiral of knowing what not to do and falling victim to doing those things. And then what happens, it causes me to slow down. And then I'm an hour behind all of my friends and fall over or, go over the handlebars and nobody's there. That Baja trip, I hit a chain link fence and got hung up where I was like
He was hung
hanging
by
from the
his
chain
neck
link
brace.
fence. Bike was laying on top of me. I couldn't get, unhooked. So
I remember, and you're like, man, this just isn't fun.
yeah, it's just not fun.
This I'm not enjoying myself. And I remember thinking at the time, like, Josh, if you could just smoke a joint or like drink 2 beers or be 19 for a minute,
man.
like just evacuate your mind of all the when you get on a dirt bike, you can't really think about that stuff.
And that's
you need
it,
to just
is-
ride by instinct for the most part. And then sort of adjust your elbow and make sure that you're doing the right things and that stuff. But if you just can't make yourself relax and do it instinctively, it's probably a good thing to say, fuck it.
No,
just
and
bail.
that's exactly it. I know what my problem is, and then on top of that, going out with Otto or Dave, and it's like, oh, I'll slow down, we'll stay with you. But it's like at that point now, on top of all of this fear and just the bike doing things that I'm not expecting it to do, I'm also dragging my friends from having a good time. So it just didn't just didn't jive. Like I still appreciate it and think dirt bikes are awesome. I prefer them more in a supermoto street vibe, but realistically, at the end of the day, I prefer the chopper aspect more than the dirt bikes. And Davin is the exact opposite. So it was a perfect opportunity for him to offload a chopper, get a dirt bike, and me to get a chopper and get rid of my dirt bike. So it worked out really well, I think.
Yeah, cool. That all makes sense. David, I know you generally have a bigger, more diverse stable than you have at the moment. You've kind of pared down. What's your deal?
Yeah, I did a purge last month. So I started last month with 7 bikes, and now I have 3. So let's see. What did I have? Last month I had a Yamaha Tenere 700 that I had for about 3 months, and I realized it's a buzzy pile of crap, so I got rid of that.
So that's not your black one out here?
No, that's Anthony's out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it had a little more Farkles than usual for you.
Yeah, no, I tried to keep that one lean and mean, but man, it wasn't hitting the right buttons. So I got rid of that. Traded Josh the shovel for the CRF. I'd won a little Buell chopper from our buddy Reese on a raffle. Had that for a couple months and went through the pain and suffering of getting it registered in California, and decided I didn't want that either. So
Was it a frame with no MSO or something? Or
it was like the frame didn't have any numbers on it. The title was for a made up, it was an actual manufacturer in Michigan, but it was just one of those things where California didn't love it. So I went through the right avenues and got it all legit and legal, and then ended up selling it to a cop in Chino.
So you could have sold it dirty and he would have fixed
Exactly.
it. God. No good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah, no, I just, and then what else did I have? I have a 2023 Triumph Tiger 1200 Rally Pro. that I just got because it replaced the exact same bike that I had. I had a 2023 Drive Tiger 1200 Rally Pro that I put.
So instead of changing the oil, you just traded it in and got
Yeah,
another one?
I had it in for service for its 20,000 mile service at 28,000 miles. So yeah, it was a 2023 with 28,000 miles on it. And I was just like, man, what if I gave you this beautiful 10RA 700 and my old Tiger for this new fresh Tiger? And they're like, yeah, we can do that. I'm like, cool, let's do that.
Sweet.
So yeah, I made that little swap because I really enjoy that bike. I've got a Triumph Bonneville T120 that is probably the most pleasant motorcycle I've ever owned.
Aren't
It's
they
just
pleasant? That's
man,
the
it's
best word for that.
comfortable. It's just so pleasant. Like everything about it. It's handy. It's pleasant.
Dude, it's the
Real
universe.
cute.
It's
Super
the,
cute.
It's the UJM
Dude, it's
motorcycle that
it's adorable.
revolutionized
Yeah.
the 70s. It's the
adorable.
universal Japanese motorcycle just
It's
made by
yeah.
the Brits.
It's so good. Like I've owned well over 100 motorcycles in my life, and this thing is just so perfect. It's my commuter bike. It's narrow. It's low. It
Yeah.
can cut through the
Got plenty
traffic.
of power.
It's got tons of power. That new 1200 motor is insane. Like I had the Scrambler with that motor, but this thing it's geared so high that it wants to do 90 all the time, and it just loves it. Like 5th and 6th gear overdrive, and it's a good looking motorcycle. It's all blacked out. It's got some cute stuff
Yeah,
on
it
it.
still looks like a motorcycle.
Yeah, I put our bags on it. It's practical. It's yeah, I love that thing. And
I like that because it's so not tough guy.
Yeah,
Totally not a tough looking bike.
No, it's cute.
It's
and
got
I
a
love it.
macrame seat cover.
Yeah, no, I got my cool.
Does
cover
it?
on
Did you
there.
knit that yourself?
I didn't know. A man
Somebody
from
in
the United
Taiwan did, I
Kingdom.
think. Yeah.
and I think it's called the cool cover. It keeps the swamp ass from attacking your taint region during the summertime.
Huh.
Does it work?
It's awesome. It's a little bit
Huh.
too chilly
Have you
right now.
inspected that auto? Is this tank
Huh.
dry?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a lot better than a wild ass or a whatever that other brand is called. It's
Wild
like-
ass, I think it is.
Yeah. What's the one the other one we use?
Airhawk.
Airhawk. Yeah.
Uh,
Wild
Josh-
ass.
Nothing better than Airhawk.
I don't know. Josh
Ask
and
Rico
Otto are
Fadri.
big
Big
Airhawk
Airhawk
guys.
fan.
Rico Fadri, too.
Yeah. Anyways.
I think he gave David a run for his money in my
I'd rather
department.
shit
Those in the
blood.
know.
Yeah, my cool covers on both my Tiger and my Bonneville are way nicer than Airhawk, so I'm gonna die on that hill. And what else do I have? I got rid of something else. I don't remember. What did I have?
Dirt bike? You had a Beta?
I had the Beta. I sold that last year after I did LA Beta V on my Africa Twin, and then because I'm like, I guess I don't need a dirt bike anymore. And then I sold the Beta, and then Otto bought a new dirt bike, and then a bunch of other friends bought new dirt bikes. So I'm like, I guess I need a dirt bike. And then I bought. Oh, I had the DR650 that I got from Hot Dog.
Right.
That one that he
Yeah,
commuted on to West Coast Choppers for 10. I think
Yeah.
he rode it from Oceanside to Long Beach every day for 3 years.
Yeah.
Never took it off road, and then I traded that for a BMW K1200 GT, and I sold that to some dude. And so the last few
All right, we're
months
going to
were
run out of time.
lots of motorcycle
We
stuff.
get it.
So
We get it. You like motorcycles. We get
anyways,
it.
yeah, I'm now down to a Bonneville, a Tiger, and the Sierra 450L, and sold all those bikes, bought a toy hauler, so I'll spend next summer kind of cruising around with the toy hauler and a couple bikes in it, looking at stuff and getting work done rather than riding everywhere. So I hit my 30,000 mile goal for this year. So
Is that your goal every year? Is it try to do 30,000 on a bike? Or
no, I think 18 is always if you can't do 18, you might as well just stop riding as far as I'm concerned. Like I did 18 easily when I lived in Detroit. So that's kind of like if I live somewhere where I can ride year round, I've got to hit at least 18. So 18 is always the bottom, but last year I hit 26 after trying to hit 24. And this year I'm like, I can hit 30. And I did. So next year it'll be like, I'll be happy if I can hit 18 because I'll be doing a lot more driving and camping and stuff. So
yeah, there's a point. I mean, you could argue this where there's quantity over quality or quality over quantity,
Yep.
And like I don't have an odometer on most of my bikes because they don't have speedometers because they're old and shitty. So I don't know. To me, I'm not going to rack up 18,000 miles on old bikes in a year, but I'm going to rack up miles that I consider quality or like maybe they were more of a struggle, a little tougher.
right. Yeah, no,
miles.
you like to suffer. We know that.
I do enjoy I enjoy the suck sometimes, but there's nothing wrong with riding a modern bike that starts just about every time and
Yeah, exactly.
that you can eat a lot of miles. I like doing that stuff too. I just don't do it as much.
Yeah. And I did that cross country trip this year, and man, every day I was like, 200 to 500 miles, and I just wanted to keep going. And then
Yeah.
I flew out to New York in June and rented a brand new road glide. And man, that bike was miserable. I couldn't wait to get off of it every day. So
And that's what that thing's supposed to be
yeah,
made
it
for.
was like, man, we're riding out there with Zito, and he's like, man, you look uncomfortable on that thing. I'm like, I am. This bike sucks.
What was wrong with
that's
it?
the
Like
kind of stuff we can-
ergonomics? Was it
Man, it just that and the Street Glide feel like they're built for T-Rex people. Like, I don't know. It's like,
so long legs, short arms?
yeah, like the floorboard position is weird. The whole rider triangle is screwed up. So that's something that I could spend a whole episode talking about.
Sure.
That.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something we'll do because
Yeah. No, that's a real thing.
normal touring bikes are not my jam. So
Yeah. Well, I still think the Pan Am is the best touring bike Harley makes.
oh, absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
that, as soon as I rode that bike, I was like, holy shit, I want to ride this bike cross country. It's fast. It's comfortable. You sit in the pocket. I don't know how much off-road I want to do on the thing, but riding it on the street, man, it was fast and comfortable.
That was a good bike, man. I put 18,000 miles on mine in 13 months and spent 3 days cleaning it when we got back from Alaska and got rid of it immediately
That
because
was
I
one of the smartest moves you've
felt
ever
like
made.
it was going to fall apart after a year.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Pan Am's a great bike, and to me, it seemed like your inputs had to be very deliberate compared to most adventure
Mhm.
bikes in the market. But for Harley to make something that good right out the gate is amazing. So yeah, this is like some of the stuff we can talk about because we've all put some miles on a Pan Am. We've done some stuff.
Yeah.
We've ridden different adventure
Yeah, yeah.
bikes. We've ridden different choppers. We've ridden different FXRs, Dynas, Softails, whatever. We've
Yep.
ridden them all. And like we mentioned earlier, I've got, I'm working on a couple deals to get some other new bikes in our quiver to borrow to, ride around, talk about. And, hopefully you'll get on some more new model launches and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah, I
think
love
we've
that
got
stuff, and I think we do have enough of a diverse background, and our biases and interests are different enough that I think if somebody listened to 3 or 4 of us shoot the bull about a bike we just rode, I think a listener could go, huh, okay, I think I kind of align with Otto's perspective on this, and that sounds like a great bike or a terrible bike, or
Yeah.
it's a good bike, but it's going to need these mods,
for sure. Yeah, because no bike's perfect out of the box. And it's just like, nowadays getting to that, what's my baseline is kind of where it's at. So for me to buy a bike, I go through bikes like most people go through underwear, but I ride them and I put miles on them usually. But, sometimes it just doesn't tickle my happy spot. So I got to,
Yeah.
get rid of it.
Yep. Well, for me, my quiver is still large, but I haven't been doing as much riding. I moved to a different state. I moved out of California almost 2 years ago now to Washington State up on the Olympic Peninsula, and the riding's a little bit different. I have the 2003 ADV XL Sportster that Rouser built out of the spare parts from the Frijoles bike. Took that on a trip about 10 days with my friend Black Rob and went over to Vancouver Island. We basically just suffered in the rain for almost the entire time, just got soaked. There was one day we were at a really nice campground at the beach, and we just stayed in our tents, just reading our phone, being on our phones and whatever. We're just so over it at that point. So I have that kind of suitable for that environment. I got up there, I had a Husky 501. I rode it a few times. I don't know, man. I'm not a great woods guy. 501, as light and nimble as it is, probably not the best. Everybody's on 2 strokes, and I don't have any buddies that are riding hardcore stuff like that up there. And the house that we moved into is on some property, and the house needs a ton of work. I had a tiny little shop that I could cram all the bikes and tools into. Started building a bigger shop that actually has room to move. And I sold the Husky and bought a quad because that's what I needed to get utility kind of stuff done. And that Husky was just more than I needed on the trails. And
We should ride together sometime.
yeah.
Nope.
No, I don't ride the quad. I use the quad. You know what I mean?
It's more of like a truck.
Yeah. It's a little mini
it's a
truck.
yard truck, and
It-
it's
Yeah,
pretty
it might as
awesome.
well be a tractor.
I'm probably at all the stuff Bill owns. I'm probably most jealous of that thing because it's a 4-wheel drive Honda.
Dude, it's a
That's the
4-wheel drive
dream.
Honda with a couple of milk crates zip tied to the back,
It's the
and
dream.
I can
Tough to beat.
I can put my chainsaw and a shovel in there and go do stuff. So sadly, I've been doing more of that than riding dirt bikes. But I'm getting to the end of the shop build, and I'm starting to find where the local trails are. We're so close to the Olympic National Park that I can't really ride out of my house much. but there is a neighbor who I haven't met yet that has a track in his backyard. And I hear him riding all the time. And and I think he connects to a pole line road that goes out west that connects to more trails. So there's some possibilities. So I got to figure out what the next dirt bike is for me. I still have the TT 500 that I leave down here, and I'll probably race at the Biltwell 100 this year on that bike because it is so satisfying to ride. That big, dumb, old thumper is just super fun, and there's nothing more enjoyable than being a fat, old, washed-up, total amateur and passing some kid on a modern bike at the 100 is fun to me. I enjoy that. Still have the 57 Pan that I rode on the Alaska trip. Just went through redoing a bunch of stuff, post-Alaska. I did last winter in Washington, so new front fender, new tanks, clean and painted the old fender that was on it. Got rid of a lot of the gingerbread stuff. I think I left one crash bar on. Maybe I took both crash bars off. That one was kind of like a mini garbage wagon, and now it's a little bit more stripped down and just a little cleaner. Rewired the whole thing, put a new generator on it, lots of clean and service kind of items. So that's running and ready to go. Cervicar is up and running. That's a 1940. Still need to put a proper battery in it. I need to put shocks on the back because it just bounces like crazy, but that's another little yard tractor. I'm down here in California today, so I'm going to bring home the 75 shovel chopper and the 67 shovel that I got from Gardner Ritchie last year, and then the 92 FXR. So I have a motorcycle problem. Like I have way too many of them. And
What about the 45? Are you going to take that one home?
No, I'm going to leave that in the conference room because that one's just mothballed and preserved. I love that bike.
I like looking at that one. So
I love looking at it,
I'm okay
too.
with you leaving that one.
So in the shop, I'm building a little bar that's about the size of this podcast studio that we built in Rouser's bedroom.
What's the name of the bar?
The bar is the Olympic Social Club.
The Olympic Social Club. That's interesting. Tell me about that name, Bill.
Is this part of Olipen Industries?
This is part of Olipen Industries, which that's my pass-through corp for.
I love that.
I'm a marketing consultant. I think everybody up there thinks I'm on WITSEC. They have no idea what's going on.
Pass through Corp. Tell me a little bit about this, Bill.
No, I won't. I'm not going to be recorded talking about that stuff. But anyway, so yeah, I love motorcycles, mostly old motorcycles that punish me, and I have to go to my friend Rico.
Again, the suffering.
Yes, I have to go to my friend Rico and beg forgiveness and ask him to help me when I get over my head, which is all the time because I just suck at lots of things. So I'm dragging 2 more problems home this weekend, and whatever, we'll see. And I'm on the lookout for a dirt bike. So I am kind of interested in that Zero. I think it's the X. Is it just called X?
XE.
XE.
Yeah.
Man, when we rode that big Zero, we had it down here 2 years ago or something. That was wild. And we'll do a whole episode on electric bikes because, man, this stuff is coming. And it lacks some of the character and some of the culture and some of the stuff that makes me love especially old bikes. But you also can't deny the practicality of it and how good it is and how much it sucks to clean carburetors with crappy modern gas. And so the idea of having a dirt bike that I can just lean in the corner for 6 months while it's cold and wet in Washington and then pull out in the spring and go, hey, look, this blow dryer still works. You just plug it in and it goes. Yeah. That's got some value. And I know you still got to keep up on chains and tires and tubes. And
yeah, but if it came to the point where it's like, hey, all motorcycles are going to go away except for a 75 CB750 and this Zero electric bike, I will take this electric bike forever because I don't ever want to touch those Honda carbs ever again.
It's crazy you could have a motorcycle with no gas tank but still have sugar in your tank. Sorry, I digress.
Yeah, I'd rather have that CB all day long. I'd just call my friend Dwayne and say, can you help me with these carbs?
Yeah. See, and that's exactly why we're doing this, because we all have different feelers about different things, and I think it'll be good banter.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's why we need diversity in the motorcycle collection world, is you have to have different tools for different jobs. So if you just have 19 flat black shovel heads, well, that's kind of dumb. But you can have an electric bike, a Cervicar, an FXR, or whatever, and then you're sort of diverse, and so your portfolio is just more interesting.
Yes, agreed.
I don't know. Tell us about your motorcycle portfolio, Mr. Otto.
I don't know if I understood the question. That's what we're doing, talking about motorcycle.
Yeah, we got
okay.
9 minutes.
What's in your
Okay.
quiver right now, Michael?
Okay. Well, I'm a little bit.
Oh,
of
that's
a,
enough for me, him. Yeah, let's talk about something else. No,
Fine with me.
I'm joking. What are you
I don't know
riding
if
and
this
why?
was on the spreadsheet anyway. But,
Riding is debatable at this point.
What have you collected?
Yeah, I like bikes I can ride. I'm more of a rider than a collector, I think, even though I don't ride as many miles as David. I do like to ride. Like Bill mentioned, I like to ride the good stuff. I don't need to commute every day to prove myself to the internet, but I digress. I'm a watcher. I like to watch guys that I like.
You mean like while they shower? Or
Watch guys that I like have fun and adventure and see what they're riding and then try to mimic it. And for a long time, I saw David on an Africa Twin doing a lot of things, and he probably won't admit it, but that was probably the best bike he ever owned. I watched him put it through the paces, so I ended up with an Africa Twin. And if I only had one motorcycle, I could make that work. I could ride a little bit of dirt. I can ride street with my wife. I can be comfortable. I can bring all my gear and/or including charcuterie and a jet boil, and I've done it. And we did about 1,800 miles earlier this year in Baja with some friends, Ed Subius and Redbeard and my buddy Julio, and it was a great time. So I know if I only had one bike, I could do that. Again, I watch, I see the end of motorcycle clubs, the real clubs, in my opinion, is the 80s and 90s, and guys like El Forastero in the Midwest are riding Evo choppers, because one, they're in the Midwest and you got to ride across the country to get to anything good. And they did it, and so I got me an Evo-powered chopper, and these guys will tell you it's never really been in the back of the truck. It's been everywhere. It starts easy. It runs pretty quick. I re-geared it. Rob re-geared it a little while ago, and now it will literally go 100 miles an hour and just cruise, and so I like that. The best desert bike, without doubt, is a 450X, made by Honda. It's kicking electric. It's still out there winning the Baja 1000, so I got one of those. And then as Bill mentioned, I watched Bill have a lot of fun on the TT500s. I got me an XT500, which is a street legal vintage dirt bike. And those things, if you can get them running, they will stay running. Sometimes they're a little hard to get running because they got a big motor and a lot of compression. And it's definitely one of those old guy bikes they talk about throwing you over the handlebars if you're not paying attention. That thing will humble you, and it's humbled me. But that's a cool bike I picked up this year at the Hannaford Swap Meet, and I'm pretty happy with it. It has its suspension inadequacies have been addressed, because that's a big problem with those bikes. They got plenty of go, but not a lot of suspension, and mine's pretty dialed with the suspension, I feel now, and that's a good bike. And then I have a couple bikes that are my wife's that I get to hang out and ride once in a while, and that's that Lowrider ST Lowrider from Harley. They came out with a few years ago, and in my opinion, that's the coolest Harley since like the T-Sport, early 2000s Harleys. Harley really nailed it with the ST. It's just clean. It's got a fairing. It doesn't really have much. You got something smart to say, David?
I was going to say, you've obviously forgot about the Rocker C.
Yeah, the Rocker C. Well, that's in a class all its own.
Lest we forget.
That's pinnacle. Yeah, exactly.
Do it.
The pop out back
it.
seat.
Oh, wait, is that what we had in Australia?
No, that wasn't. But it was close.
Was
That
the
was
breakout?
that was the breakout.
Yeah.
There
That
was
the
some
one that-
redeeming qualities. The oil tank on that bike was actually
And the
kind
front
of
wheel.
okay.
Yes,
guys
that was a
use on
knockoff
chapters.
of Cole Foster's.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
oil
The
tank.
backbreaker is what they should have called both those bikes because
Yeah.
they're just miserable.
I call that the Florida when you got forward controls and the flat bars up
It's the
front.
most
It's like, who thinks that's
unbelievable
comfortable
riding
or
position.
cool? Like
Yeah.
that just.
But
That's
man,
terrible.
the
if that's
Otto's-
your style,
Yeah.
sorry.
Otto's ST because Cafe Customs is the one that did breathed on a little bit, made it a little bit spicier, but it looks fantastic.
Yeah,
But
they don't need much, man.
I agree. I think that
Harley-
bike's like a modern FXR.
Yeah.
You look at it and you go, okay, you could do a pipe, you could do air cleaner or something, some sort of modern tune, whatever magic guys like Cafe can do. And otherwise, leave that thing alone, man. It's
Yeah.
good looking.
That thing
Yeah.
rips. And, maybe once or twice a year I get to ride to NorCal on my little swap meet with my wife. She rides her ST. I ride my Africa Twin. And I look at that bike, you see it going down the road. You're like, man, that's a dang Harley.
Yeah, it still looks like a Harley.
It looks like a Harley still, and it's a modern bike, and it shits and gets, and it's a cool bike. It looks good in the parking lot even, which I'm not a fan of looking at bikes in parking lots too much, but you walk around those.
No,
like,
I think
man,
you need to be able to look at your motorcycle and go, Yeah, I like that.
That's a cool one.
Yeah.
You know, so those are what I got in the quiver. And I'm trying not to turn over too many bikes. I'm trying to just make time to ride
To
the
enjoy
ones I
what
got.
you do have.
Yeah, and I like all those bikes that I got. You know, and
Is there anything on the horizon that you're looking at?
no,
Okay.
a time machine.
Yeah,
I'm
we need to go
on the
back to
lookout. I've
92
been on
and-
Facebook Marketplace to get a time machine. Yeah,
Well,
DeLorean.
28-foot Itasca or whatever. What did you just buy?
It's
Tioga?
24. It's a Tioga Fleetwood. Don't
Okay.
get it twisted.
Yeah.
V10 powered, 6.84 miles to the gallon.
No way, it's a V10?
Yeah, V10.
Oh, okay. I thought it was 5.4.
No. It's a V10.
All
Nice
right.
round.
Better
6.8.
change them plugs. They
Yeah.
only got about 3 threads holding them
Yeah,
in.
they're all right. It's all
Ask
right.
me how I know.
It's all right.
all
If
right.
it's good enough for Bob Glidden, it's good enough for me.
I don't even know who that is.
Baddest drag racer of all time. Come on.
R.I.P.
All right. Well, that was 56 minutes, 43 seconds.
work.
If you're still awake, thanks.
Yeah. Good on you. You
That
must
makes
have had
one of
nothing
us.
else to do. So,
Lol.
yeah, we'll see. That was our first podcast, and hopefully
Maybe the last.
we get together and do it again soon. So we'll have an outro after this, so we don't have to really bother with that. We just kind of do like Rogan and say, okay, thanks, good, we're done. Bye.
Oh, wow. Technologies. Okay.
Anything? Any closing words from anybody?
Yeah, roast my bike. Send me pictures of that shit box, and I'll roast it for you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I love that idea.
Nice.
pod@builtwellinc.com.
I got to think of like a tagline to shut this thing out with.
Just say 18,000 on average.
We'll see you on the road.
Crank those
You'll,
hogs, brother.
you'll see me on the road.
Yeah. We'll see you.
You'll see David on the road.
All right, brother. Josh.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Well, thanks for listening to another episode of the Parts and Labor Podcast brought to you by Builtwell. Got any feedback or questions for us? Send a voice recording or email to pod@builtwellinc.com, and we'll see you next time.